All right, let's dive into some of Yuval Noah Harari's biggest ideas for navigating the pretty wild and unpredictable world we're living in right now. We're going to use his framework as a kind of map to get a clearer picture of the massive challenges and choices that are staring us right in the face.
So, does it ever feel like things are just unraveling? Like the ground is shifting beneath our feet? You're not alone in feeling that. Harari argues this isn't just in our heads, it's real. And it's happening because the big stories we used to tell ourselves to make sense of everything, they've completely fallen apart.
And this timeline just lays it all out, doesn't it? Back in the day, you had these huge, competing ideas trying to explain the world. In the late 30s, it was a three-way brawl: fascism, communism, and liberalism. Then, World War II basically knocks fascism out of the ring. For the next 50 years, it's a heavyweight fight between communism and liberalism. By the 90s, liberalism is the last one standing. It felt like the end of history, the one story that had finally won. But since the financial crisis in 2008, even that story has been crumbling, leaving us, well, here, in this weird vacuum with no single big story to guide us.
So to really get a grip on this new reality, we're going to break it down into 4 key areas. We're going to look at why that last big story died, what's actually taking its place, how new technology is literally learning to hack our brains, and what that all means for the future of humanity itself.
Okay, first up, the end of the story. This really gets to the core of all the political weirdness we're seeing. We've got to understand why the one idea that promised to unite the whole planet in peace and prosperity is now basically on life support.
I mean, the liberal package, free markets, democracy, human rights, it was sold as this universal formula for success. The thinking was, if every country just opens up its borders and its economy, we'd all get richer, we'd all get along, and everything would be great. And for a while, it kind of seemed like it was working. But then, bam, the 2008 financial crash hit, and it was a massive shock to the system. All of a sudden, people all over the globe started to feel like this whole thing was a rigged game, one that only benefited a tiny little elite. And just like that, faith in the story was shattered.
But here's the thing. While all our political dramas were playing out, something way, way bigger was happening behind the scenes. Harari says the real engine of change, the force that is truly reshaping our world, isn't politics. It's what he calls the twin revolutions in information technology and biotechnology.
Okay, this is absolutely crucial to understand why this time is different. The first industrial revolution replaced human muscle. We built tractors and factory machines to do our heavy lifting. But we humans always had the edge upstairs, right? With thinking, with strategy, with learning. But now, AI is starting to beat us at those cognitive games. In the past, we could always fall back on our minds. So the billion-dollar question is, when machines can outthink us, what's left for us to fall back on?
And it's not just that AI can match our skills. It has powers we just don't. Think about it. You can't get every doctor on Earth to instantly learn about a new virus, but you can update millions of AI doctors in less than a second. They can all share what they learn instantly, creating a single global hive mind. This isn't a race between one self-driving car and one human driver. No, it's a race between all human drivers and a single interconnected network that's learning from every mile every other car drives all at once.
And this brings us to our third stop, which is where things get really, really personal. We're talking about hacking the human. Because this revolution isn't just happening out there, with jobs and cars. It's happening inside our own heads.
You know, the whole liberal idea is built on trusting your gut, right? Follow your heart. But what if our heart, our feelings, our intuition, isn't some magical spiritual thing? Harari's argument is that what we call intuition is really just a super sophisticated biological algorithm. Our brains are constantly running calculations, recognizing patterns to keep us alive. It's basically a computer made of meat.
And if feelings are just a biochemical mechanism, if they're just calculations, then what happens when an external machine can run those calculations better than we can? If an algorithm can monitor the signals in your body and your brain, it can literally understand your feelings better than you do. It could predict your choices and nudge you in a certain direction, and you'd probably never even notice.
And look, this change in who we trust won't happen overnight with a big announcement. It's a slow creep. It starts small. We already let Netflix pick our movies and Google Maps pick our routes. No big deal. But as these algorithms get smarter and collect more and more data on us, we'll start trusting them with the big stuff. What career should I choose? What health treatment is best? Heck, who should I marry? Why trust your own messy, emotional gut when an algorithm has all the data?
And this is where the political danger becomes crystal clear. The whole idea of democracy is based on the notion that the voter knows best. But what happens when governments and corporations can effectively hack our human operating system? When they can pinpoint our fears, our biases, our hopes, and push those emotional buttons on command? At that point, democracy just turns into an emotional puppet show. The power is no longer with us, it's with whoever holds the algorithm that can pull our strings.
So that brings us to our final, and maybe the most deeply unsettling part of this whole picture: a world apart. What happens to our society when you take these godlike technologies and combine them with the massive economic inequality we already have?
So let's just start with this fact. Right now, the richest 1% of people on this planet own half of all the wealth. Half. But Harari warns that this might just be the warm-up act. The next great divide might not be about what's in your bank account, but what's in your DNA.
Yeah, this slide it's a chilling one. In the 20th century, the big fight was between the rich and the poor. It was about money. And in theory, someone from a poor background could work their way up. But in the 21st century, the wealthy might be able to buy more than just fancy cars. They could buy biological upgrades. With biotech, they could enhance their bodies and their minds, creating a literal class of superhumans. Meanwhile, AI could make billions of people economically worthless, creating what Harari calls a new useless class. And that's not a gap you can just close with a scholarship. That's a biological chasm.
This quote just hits so hard because it captures the new problem perfectly. Look, it's one thing to fight against exploitation, to march and demand your fair share because you know they need your labor. But how do you fight against becoming irrelevant? How do you organize a protest when the whole point is that they don't need you anymore? It's much, much harder to struggle against being ignored than being exploited.
Which brings us to the final thought, maybe the single most important question of our era. All of these huge, scary challenges, AI taking jobs, algorithms controlling our choices, biological inequality, they all depend on one thing: data. Data is the new oil. It is the most valuable asset in the world. And we're talking about the data that comes from your body, your brain, your life. So who should own it? You? Some giant corporation? The government? The answer we choose to that question is going to define what it means to be human in the 21st century.